Hello, everyone. My name is Jankmo, or you can call me Jank, and this is Super Meat Boy. Any percent, no major glitches.
Yep.
So, um, yeah. Time will be, or time will start in three, two, one, go. So this is Super
GL,
Meat
GL.
Boy, classic 2010 indie platform. Oh wait. Shoot. I need to restart the game. Sorry.
Restart? Okay.
Sorry.
Restarting timer.
Because yeah, sometimes it does that. The game's frame rate wasn't correct, and so it does that sometimes to me. It's weird, but
Okay.
yeah, let's try again. Uh, in three, two, one, go. So this is Super Meat Boy, a classic 2010 indie platformer. The goal of the game is to rescue Meat Boy's girlfriend, Bandage Girl, from Dr. Fetus, who has kidnapped her. So it's kind of a Mario-esque kind of story. One of the main pieces of tech we'll be using throughout the run is called Auto Jump, which allows you to jump on every frame by pausing while holding jump and unpausing after releasing it. This is a no major glitches category, but smaller glitches like that are allowed in the run. One example of a major glitch we will be using, or one example of a major glitch that's used in major glitch categories is a wrong warp that we can perform from this chapter to get us to the very last chapter without having to play like all the other chapters in between. There's 6 chapters that we're going to be going through, and that wrong warp can just take us right to chapter 6 from the first chapter here, the forest. There's another one where we can force the game to lag and or like freeze the game and force it to unfreeze, and that will allow us to like to clip through things. Those kinds of glitches are wacky, but we won't be using them here. We're just going to be playing through the main story of the game as normal. So there I skipped, after beating level 14, I skipped level 15, and instead I'm going to play at level 18. In order to progress through each chapter, you need to beat the chapter boss, which only requires 17 of the 20 levels to be beaten. So there is some level routing where we want to try to beat the 17 fastest levels. So we will be skipping some levels if it's faster to play a shorter level instead. So this is the first boss, Little Slugger, which is basically like a 30 second auto scroller. This game is infamous for its boss design because they only had like a week to design all the bosses, so there are some interesting quirks with them that we will actually be abusing. So that is the end of the first chapter of the forest. It's kind of just your the tutorial chapter that kind of shows you the basics of how the game works. And we're moving on to the next chapter, the hospital, which is themed. So last chapter was themed around like just saw blades. This chapter is like themed around these needle piles everywhere. So every chapter has its own like theme of hazards, which is pretty cool. This is a level where you kind of have to like. This all kind of shows you like that you have to be careful about like, how high you jump because you don't want to jump too high to hit the ceiling. This level introduces fans that will kind of like they will blow you away from them, but if you get too close to them, they will chop you up. So you have to be careful about. And these kinds of levels can be kind of tricky to optimize because you kind of want to get the right boost from the fans. This level has these cool red guys everywhere. And this next level kind of has, like, something cool about this game is sometimes the devs will kind of mess around with the color palettes of the levels, so you got this level, which is kind of like a silhouette world. Onto this level will introduce keys, which you collect them, and they'll unlock a specific portion. There are going to be a couple levels where we want to run to the end to grab the key, and then we want to backtrack to the end. Or, like, Bandage Girl might be at the start of the level, but we have to go to the end of the level to get a key and then backtrack. Like, for example, here. This level has a couple of these floating purple guys everywhere. That's an example of fans. That level has like you're kind of floating on fans while going around these purple guys, And this level coming up is I'm gonna end it in a pretty interesting way. Or pretty important way, rather. So it's important to end that level on the ground or the floor, and the reason being is a tech called Storage Jump, where we take advantage of the one frame where Meat Boy's last frame is stored, and we combine that with Auto Jump to basically do a wall jump off the air, and on that level 217, it allows us to get a faster cycle than we're normally supposed to be able to get. So on to the second boss, Chad. I did a skip there where I grabbed the second key really fast, so if you can get the second key before this screen stops scrolling, you can actually make it continue scrolling without interruption. So that is the end of the hospital. So moving on to the next chapter, which is the Salt Factory. So can we get some PJ Salts in the chat? So obviously, the main hazard of this chapter is going to be salt. The lore of Meat Boy is that he's basically a boy born without skin, so things like salt are very hazardous to him. Which is also kind of why we need a Rusty Bandage Girl. Because supposedly, like, Meat Boy, like, kind of needs her to survive. It's, like, for his well-being. There is these conveyor belts, which you'll be running, like, if you run in the same direction as them, you'll gain speed, but you'll also be like running against them sometimes. You can also jump into them, which you're not supposed to be able to go that high, but you can actually jump into them and get a lot more height than you're supposed to. At this level, I'm going to try to do a skip. I missed it. That's a very weird strat. I'm not really 100% sure why it works, but basically, sometimes wall jump physics in this game can be kind of weird. And what we were trying to do there is, sometimes when you do a wall jump, on the same frame you touch a wall, you will, instead of jumping, you'll just like vertically, like, you'll just go straight up. And if you combine it with the conveyor belts, you can get a ton of height. But it is a frame perfect trick. Okay, so we are going to exit out of level 11 to skip levels 12 and 13 because those are two very long auto-scrollers. And there is a skip on one of the levels we're going to be doing instead, which will end up saving time if we manage to nail it. On to this next level here, Mono. This level has a pretty tricky skip, and I'm going to try to get. There we go. Nice. So what that skip is we use auto jump to do a pretty tight jump off of that wall, and that allows us to skip waiting for the moving platform. And there's that skip that I was talking about that ends up saving time. If you miss that, you lose 6 seconds. So it's kind of important to get it. And one last level here before moving on to the chapter boss Brownie. So this is supposed to be like a race, but we can actually just skip the entire boss by jumping around there. So we do something called a sprint jump there, and what the sprint jump is it is a jump where you start sprinting as you jump, which in this case allows us to stay just close enough to the wall to not get killed out of bounds. So on to chapter 4, Hell, which has like lava and everything. This is generally considered the hardest chapter in the run. There's a lot of really crazy strats we can go for, and I'm going to try to show as many of them as I can, like on this level. Oh man, let's try it again. Nice. So that is Hex Skip. It's a very tight jump to skip waiting for the moving platform there at the end. It saves about 3 seconds. It is notoriously difficult. Because you need to jump like as low as you can. Oh, nice! That is another strat called Double Rickets, where we can do those very precise jumps through those saws. That is considered the hardest strat implemented into the run. very few people go for it, and maybe only like the only the top 2 times actually like do it in their PBs, I think. There's also these portals, which casually they can be kind of weird because they don't really telegraph where they're going to send you. This level introduces these eye lasers that kind of follow you. This level has a pretty tough strat where we can jump. We can try to jump around the laser. Oh man, give me a hard time here. More cool laser cycles on this level. They're kind of just moving through them. This level introduces these little like demon blasters that like when they explode, they'll explode into like smaller pieces. They can be kind of annoying. A couple more levels here. Alright, then we gotta do one more level. We're gonna be doing 419. We skipped 4-2 because it's a very long level. Oh. Alright. So this is kind of like a little select strat I'm gonna try to do. Alright. Come on. Nice. Alright, so this level is supposed to be easy, but, you know, for Marathon's sake, why not go for a little bit of slag? Alright, so this is the 4th chapter boss, Littlehorn. This boss is really about memorizing his attack patterns, but there's actually like a safe spot here where you can stand, and all you have to do is jump 3 times. This is kind of your only break in the run, so if the hosts have anything to say, then go for it.
Definitely. So the charity we are supporting this marathon is the Haven House Children's Hospice. Haven House Children's Hospice cares for seriously ill babies and children by creating a loving and warm environment for them and their families while they go through the toughest of times. If you're interested in donating, you can donate through bits, subs, or through the link in the !donate command. All donations are appreciated.
Alright. Alright, so that's the end of Littlehorn. So there's something unfortunate that we're going to note here, and that is that as a result of skipping the cutscene, a little bit of the cutscene is left over, so there's going to be a white flash at the start of this next level. Unfortunately, this level that we play happens to have a really tight cycle that's really dependent on a clean first jump that you can't really see because of the white flash. So fortunately, we actually got it, which is pretty cool. So this is the this is Chapter 5, Rapture. It's kind of generally disliked by speedrunners because the levels are very long and punishing to die on. The strats are also pretty tricky. And this is also the chapter with the most RNG. So the main mechanics of each chapter is like these repulsors that kind of push you away from him. There are also these switches that are kind of like keys, that make these sudden blocks like disappear, but they will like reappear after some time. And on this level actually requires you to like catch these falling keys, and if you miss them, you have to restart the level. And it's worth noting here that in this chapter there's actually a couple routes you can do. What I'm doing is kind of like the risky route, which just doesn't actually save very much time, which does 5-1 and skips 5-8. You can do like any 17 between like any of the first 18 levels, and it would be considered a viable route. So some people do 5-8 instead of 5-1, which is kind of like an auto-scroller. It's a little bit easier. And now we got these Abomination Beat Boy things, which are kind of not very well liked in the community because their behavior is kind of really weird and erratic. It's kind of random, so this level's cursed. Yeah. And like, for example, on this level, they can sometimes troll you. And And on this level, it's actually very important that we jump over this warp zone. So warp zones are extra things in the game that allow you to play extra stages. But because we just want to go fast, we don't really want to enter that warp zone. That's like the only warp zone that ends up getting in the way. It's called Sunshine Island, and it's kind of a meme in the community. And it has like a deceptively large hitbox. That level that level's actually like longer than how I did it, but we basically just like skipped it by like jumping around. You're supposed to get a couple keys. Now there's these maggots everywhere. Here's another big skip in this level here. It's normally like a 30-second level, but we can just like jump through those repulsors and finish it in like 2. This level reintroduces rocket launchers, which, like Home to you, those are also in the Salt Factory, and there's also those blocks that can only be destroyed by rockets. And here's the last level of the chapter. We get the key and we kind of wait, floating on these repulsors, waiting for the path to Bandage Girl to open up. Alright. So, this is Larry. So this boss consists of 3 worms, and making them jump into the saws. This is a very infamous boss in Super Meat Boy speedrunning, because the outcome of this boss is kind of RNG. That was actually really good. So you can do a pod trick at the start to desync one of the worms and make it act independently of the others. That can allow for a 2 cycle and helps your chances overall, because normally only 1 worm can jump each cycle. So that was actually a 3 cycle, which is kind of the second best you can get. If you do the pod trick, you could potentially get a 2 cycle Larry. But that boss kind of determines whether or not you can PB, which is kind of unfortunate at the very end of the run. So this is the last chapter, the end. There's only 5 levels in this chapter, but we won't have to do all of them, and there are some pretty cool strats in here. There's also like these levels are also very long, so they can be very punishing to die on. Like in this level, there's a pretty tight cycle I'm going to try to get. Oh, I missed it. I clipped the side of the platform. There's another really tough cycle in this level. Oh man, that was tough. Let's try again. Oh, really? Okay, whatever. So this isn't the fast cycle, but it's still... It's a decent cycle. It's not the fastest cycle, but I tried to do like a pretty risky one there. This is the last level, Omega. There's a couple skips on this level. Like jumping over these saws at the top. And also, this strat here, called Keyless. Normally there's like that section there where you're supposed to normally get a key. But we can just kind of skip all of it. And now we are heading on to the final boss, Dr. Fetus. So this is an auto-scroller. Dr. Fetus has like also has like a rocket launcher. And this is normally supposed to be an auto-scroller. We're supposed to be like stuck in between these like 2 saw towers, but we can actually jump over the one in front of us and just like go to the end of their own leisure. So do a little bit of platforming here. And there's going to be some buttons that we gotta hit. So this button to unlock this button to collapse the bridge. Now, here's something very important. You might think that the saws we jumped over will come back to kill us, but for some reason, the button that I'm standing on makes you invincible, so these saws are just going to fly over us instead. So after this, there's going to be like 20 seconds of platforming because there's an escape sequence, and time will be when I trigger the ending cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
And time.
GG.
Man, yeah, that's a really good run for a marathon.
Yep, 18:57 for Super Meat Boy, any
Yeah,
percent
sub
NMG.
19 is a very good time. So before I sign off here, usually we like to play a game where we track the number of deaths throughout the run, so chat is welcome to guess before I reveal it in the stat stream, but I will be saying a couple things. If you're interested in speedrunning this game, we do have a community Discord with tons of really nice and helpful people, and this is quite an easy speed game to get into. Like, at the start, you can improve a lot by just reducing your deaths, and then you can start adding strats once you're happy with your consistency. It's kind of an easy to pick up, hard to master kind of game, and thanks FTLG for having me on and showcasing this game. It was really fun. But yeah, let's see how many times I died in the run. Alright, I'll give it a little bit. And survey says 15.
15.
Alright. Well, that's about it for me, so thanks for having me.
Yep. Thank you very much. That was Super Meat Boy, any percent by Jankmo. And I was your host, Crazy Tone Dog. Make sure to stick around.
getting closer to midnight. I try to get closer to you, drinking courage from a red cup now.